Having the right equipment for surveillance for a PI is a necessity for many reasons. The first thing you need to prepare for your surveillance is a cover sheet. I know many people don't use these anymore, or they don't print them out if they have access to information on their phone. However, I always print mine out as I run into situations many times out in the country, in the mountains, a parking garage, or I just have a weak cell signal where I can't access things electronically. Also, if I need to reference it quickly while driving, I can grab a piece of paper off of the passenger seat a lot easier and safer than fumbling through my cell phone trying to find it. A basic cover sheet that I use looks something like this. It has the subject's name, photos, address, vehicle description with license plate in large bold letters so I can easily find it. Pen and paper is another absolute necessity for a surveillance investigator. Some investigators use their phones, but again, in the rush of events during surveillance, it is a lot faster to grab a paper and a pencil and jot down a license plate or an address or other vital pieces of information. A cell phone is vital these days for surveillance for many reasons though. Number one, it is your lifeline out there, folks. If something goes wrong, you need to be able to call for assistance quickly. You also may need to call a client, run some searches on databases, the internet, or social media. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. Most PIs don't use a regular GPS any longer. However, I still have one in my car. There are a couple of reasons for having this as a backup for the GPS on your phone. When you get into remote areas such as up in the mountains or out in the country, if you lose phone signal or if it gets too weak, you will lose GPS capability on your cell phone. If you have a separate GPS unit, it will usually still work. Binoculars are another must-have for surveillance. I don't use mine very often, but when I need them, folks, I really need them, and they can be a case saver. These are great for rural cases and other cases where you need to watch a subject at a distance. Sure, you may have great zoom on your camera, but nothing can replace the control and the vision ability like a good pair of binoculars. A flashlight is another must-have. Again, nothing super fancy. This is another one of those pieces of equipment that you don't need often, but when you do need it, folks, you simply need one. Window shades, another vital piece of equipment that you need. Good window coverings are a necessity. At the minimum, sun shield for the windshield is needed. This can be used to help block the sunlight, keep you more concealed, as well keep you cool on those really hot days. You are going to need a good video camera, folks. This does not have to be super fancy, but it has to be durable and have certain features that you will need for surveillance. I use a Panasonic HCV 180 as my primary camera. It has 1080p high def with 50x optical zoom, a 2.7-inch display screen, low light, low lux capability, and date timestamp. The Panasonic HCV 180 also has a special feature called 90x intelligent zoom, which is a cross between optical and some light digital enhancement. The flip out screen on my camera is also fully reversible, so I can flip it out, spin it around, and then I can close it with the screen pointing out so I can shoot sideways and still watch the video. It's also a 2.7-inch touchscreen, so it's easy to see and easy to control. Another great feature it has is night vision. However, most cameras these days, they do not call it night vision. This camera calls it low light, and it has an auto feature that I use. It changes it automatically in a low light situation. Date and timestamp is another must-have feature you need for your video camera. Besides a primary camera, every great surveillance investigator has a backup camera. What, you say? Yes, yep. You need to invest in a good backup camera just in case something happens to your primary camera. I have had this happen to me in the past. Dropped my camera while jumping out of the vehicle to go out on a foot surveillance and discovered it was broken when I got back. Luckily, I had a backup camera and was ready to continue on with just a slight hiccup in my day. Okay, now that you have your cameras, you need something to hold them. I use a good standard tripod, but I usually use it with all three legs down and use it as a monopod. Some surveillance investigators prefer to have both a tripod and a monopod. The problem with using both, if you have the monopod on and you want to switch to tripod to shoot a long piece of video while stationary, you must change gear in the middle of your surveillance. Okay, there's at least one other camera that you need for proper surveillance, folks. That's a covert camera or a spike. Many PIs today just use their cell phone, and that is okay for many situations, but not all, to be sure. I use Covert spy cams by Lawmate. I have multiple Covert spy cams that I take with me on surveillance. A cell phone cam, a key fob cam, and a pen cam are my go-to Covert cams. If you're getting started, these might be a little bit out of your budget, so your cell phone may be the way to start. But if you can work it into your budget, then these are very good. But please make sure that you just don't go on the internet and buy those cheap knockoff $10 spy cams from China. You get what you pay for, folks. I'll leave a link down below to a site where you can buy Lawmate products. Power is a must-have also to ensure that everything that you have stays charged up while you're out on the case. I use a DC to AC converter battery jumper box for this. The one I have has a built-in DC to AC power converter, a 12-volt power plug, and a USB plug. I try to plug all of my equipment into this when in use or if charging instead of using my vehicle's power. In the event my vehicle power does get low and I need to jump, I can use this to jump it too. Take it from somebody who knows you will drain your battery one day while out on surveillance. This is a definite lifesaver. Food and water is of the utmost necessity to ensure you stay healthy and hydrated. I only take dry foods along with me, like nuts and fruit mixes, that kind of stuff, and of course I eat sparingly. I try to make sure what food I have has little to no sugar and is high in protein as well. I also keep a case of water in my vehicle, as well a case of Gatorades for those really hot days. You may start out thinking that you're going out on a 4 to 6 hour case, and it could end up being 12, 16 hours or more. So having a food supply with you is very important. And now, the absolute most important thing that you need to ensure you have while on surveillance, for surveillance, folks, is portable bathroom utilities. Yes, there you go. This is an absolute necessity for every surveillance investigator. You can't just break surveillance and run to the nearest gas station or fast food joint every time you have to go. If you do this, you will most assuredly run into Murphy's Law. If anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. You'll go back out on surveillance and find your subject is gone, or worse, not find out the subject is gone, but he has gone. There is nothing worse than sitting on a surveillance for 6, 8, 10 hours only to see your target, whom you thought was in his house all the time, come home from a day of shopping with his wife. How are you going to explain that one to your client? How do you take care of nature's calls while on surveillance? For guys, it's a little bit simpler. Remember those water bottles? Remember those Gatorade bottles? You can simply repurpose them, guys. Just please make sure you dispose of the waste properly. Ladies, I am no expert, so you're going to have to find ways on your own, but I have heard some ladies use a bedpan or other such utility, and guys, you may need something like a bedpan as well. I know, all the glamour and all the glory that you had in your mind about surveillance just went out the window. Man, all those thoughts, all those visions, 007, chasing bad guys, getting the money shot, hiding in the dark corners, they all just went poof out the window. The cold, hard fact, the cold, hard truth about surveillance, folks, it is exciting at times. It's also very boring at times.